10 amazing used Indian motorcycles you can buy under $15,000. When shopping around for a motorcycle, the buying process can be very time-consuming. You have a certain budget in mind, but you also need to consider the style of bike you want. Whether you plan on using it to just cruise around, use it for long-distance touring, or a mixture of both. How powerful you want it to be, how important comfort is to you, and so on. All you know right now is a new bike isn't in the budget, so a pre-owned motorcycle is what you're after. Plus, you'll be free of those additional taxes and fees that come with a new unit. You just need to worry about finding the right model for you under a reasonable budget, which for most people, would be set at $15,000. Thankfully for many prospective buyers, there are a lot of pre-owned motorcycles from Indian that fall under this category, all while keeping customer satisfaction high. The All-American brand features all kinds of pre-owned models on the market that let you cruise, speed, and tour to your heart's desire, all while offering them at prices that won't break the bank. While you may find some noticeable difference in prices between dealerships and people selling them on their own through Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, but you'll still be getting a better deal rather than going with a new bike. So let's take a closer look at some pre-owned motorcycles from Indian that should be able to fit inside your budget. Number 10, 2022 Indian FTR Sport. For those looking for a 10-pound motorcycle in a 5-pound bag, look no further than the 2022 Indian FTR Sport. This bike is definitely the pride of its sportier models, delivering lots of power, torque, and performance in a compact size. Indian drew back to its flat track roots in the production of the FTR Sport, designing it to be agile and very maneuverable for the thrill-seeking crowd that love cranking the throttle down the highway and carving up those long, sweeping curves on the back roads. Of course, this bike is also ambidextrous enough for the laid-back rider who is in the market for a solid A to B commuter bike to work, school, or to cruise around town on the weekends. A simple bike for those short and medium-sized rides for when you want to take a relaxing cruise around the neighborhood, or peel out on the track. Here are the specs of 2022 Indian FTR Sport. Number 9, 2020 Indian Scout. For a motorcycle that combines the old-school style for the modern era, some of the best riding technology today, as well as being one of the greatest user-friendly rides on the market, especially for beginners, the 2020 Indian Scout just very well may be the bike for you. It is easy to see why the Indian Scout is a fan favorite among both beginners and veteran riders. In short, it is the ultimate sporty cruiser. It isn't huge or intimidating, but not tiny and awkward. It isn't overpowered to the point where you don't have any control. But it isn't underpowered to where you'll hit your ceiling early. Everything about the Indian Scout is just right. Simplicity at its finest, this bike is able to produce low-end torque for instant acceleration without sacrificing control. In addition, its low seat height makes mounting and dismounting a breeze, adding to the low-profile cruiser attitude that it exudes so well. Here are the specs of 2020 Indian Scout. Number 8, 2020 Indian Scout Bobber. There are many ways in which the Indian Scout Bobber is similar to the base model of the Indian Scout. They are both equipped with a 1133cc liquid-cooled V-twin engine with moderate amounts of horsepower and torque, a low-profile seat, top-tier handling that beginner riders will love, and forward controls that continue to raise the comfort level on this bike. In other words, both of these bikes excel in growing confidence in beginner riders, and are well respected among experienced riders for their pristine handling. Where they differ is that the Bobber brings a little more style to this casual cruiser. Featuring blacked-out, chopped fenders, and mini-ape handlebars bring a little more of an old-school hot rod look, but with a modern twist. This isn't your grandfather's old-school Bobber. This is a modern-day Bobber for the modern-day rider. Here are the specs 2020 Indian Scout Bobber. Number 7, 2021 Scout 60. As we've established earlier in this list, it is that the Indian Scout is a certified fan favorite among beginner and experienced riders thanks to its moderate power and approachable design. But for some, moderate can still be a bit much for a novice rider. The base model Scout is equipped with a 1133cc liquid-cooled V-twin engine. But for the Scout 60, it features a slightly toned-down 1000cc V-twin for riders that feel more comfortable riding the bunny slopes version of the bike. Think of this bike as a strong beginner bike for one to get their bearings and raise their confidence with low stakes. Then, once they've got enough experience under their belt, then they can trade this bike up for something with a little more size to it. Here are the specs of 2021 Scout 60. Number 6, 2022 Indian Chief. Indian's line of Chief motorcycles embody the brand's stance towards your classic, old-school cruiser with some added muscle. If you are a rider that intends on taking their motorcycle game to the next level, and cruising a little more seriously, then the Chief is the bike for you. Fixed to a larger frame than its Scout brethren, the Chief introduces the rider to a more comfortable riding position by keeping their back straight and upright, shoulders relaxed, and controls in a forward position to keep the legs extended to reduce muscle tension. It is also a big step up from the Scout with a larger Thunderstroke 116 volts twin engine that produces even more horsepower and torque that intermediate and experienced riders will love. The digital IPS touchscreen display that features Indian's ride command system is a nice touch too. Here are the specs of 2022 Indian Chief. Number 5, 2018 Indian Chief Dark Horse. Just by looking at the Indian Chief Dark Horse, you can hear rock guitars playing in the background. This bike has everything that makes the stock Indian Chief great, but with a few added touches that bring a little more attitude and personality. The most obvious is its blacked-out interior. At a time when the motorcycling industry is looking to move beyond the chromed-out days of the past, models like the Indian Chief Dark Horse look to forge its own legacy by keeping nearly everything that was once shiny, solid black. The only other blacked-out vehicles to rock this look were those stealth bombers used in the Air Force. Now that same level of attitude and badassery is being passed down to the Chief Dark Horse. Not a bad upgrade for whenever you're looking to surprise your friends with your latest ride. Here are the specs of 2018 Indian Chief Dark Horse. Number 4, 2017 Indian Chief Classic. Of course, a modern-day throwback is always in style. That is where the Indian Chief Classic comes in. It's called a classic because classics never get old, and the chromed-out old-school look is a guaranteed head-turner wherever you go. This bike pays tribute to the iconic lines, heritage design, that its predecessors were known for. Only this time it's made up of some of the best riding technology and engineering of the 21st century. Available in pearl white and burgundy metallic with thunder black, the Indian Chief Classic pays tribute to some of the hot rod bikes Indian is known for by taking those same elements that made them famous, and introducing them to a new generation of riders. Not to mention that it's a real attention grabber. In a world where some people are too self-conscious about standing out, the Chief Classic does without apology. Here are the specs of 2017 Indian Chief Classic. Number 3, 2016 Indian Chieftain. Now that we've browsed some of the sportier and cruiser options that Indian has to offer, now it's time to take a look at the big dogs. The first one we'll be looking at is one of Indian's more recognizable models, the mighty Chieftain. Built to rule the highway, the Chieftain has made a name for itself by delivering an exciting and comfortable ride to customers, all while providing optimal amounts of wind protection, storage, and performance. Not to mention its built-in infotainment system installed in the fairing, allowing riders access to AM, FM radio, turn-by-turn navigation, as well as information regarding the motorcycle's fuel economy, tire pressure, and more. For those looking for a cushy ride for those long-distance road trips with friends, or with a passenger, the Chieftain is worth a look. Here are the specs of 2016 Indian Chieftain. Number 2, 2016 Indian Springfield. When it comes to touring bikes, there is no one bike-fits-all model that is able to satisfy everyone's personal tastes. If gadgetry and electronics aren't your thing, but simplicity is, then perhaps the Indian Springfield could be the bike for you. Built to just ride off into the sunset on the highway, the Springfield is also the foundation of Indian's entire touring class. Built on a large touring frame, hard saddlebags, floorboards, forward controls, and a detachable windshield, this bike has all the necessary tools needed to ride for hours on end without any fatigue to the rider. It should also be noted that despite their size, the Springfield, much like the rest of Indian's touring class, are very responsive in their maneuverability. It is not very often that a bike that is large, comfortable, powerful, and agile all at once. Good thing that the Springfield is here to check those boxes. Here are the specs of 2016 Indian Springfield. And for our number 1 spot, 2015 Indian Roadmaster. There are riders that like being able to bounce back and forth between cruising around town and touring. But then there are those that prefer to tour full-time. That is where the Roadmaster really shines. Like a couch on 2 wheels, the Roadmaster is built to exceed one's standards of comfort. Like a couch on 2 wheels, the Roadmaster is built to exceed one's standards of comfort. Because if you and a passenger plan on embarking on a multi-day cross-country road trip, the two of you are going to want to be comfortable for a while. With an extra cushy touring seat, backrest, floorboards for the rider and passenger, forward controls, fairing with an extended windshield, infotainment system, a 4-speaker sound system, and additional storage, this bike has everything you will need to ride off into the distance and create some long-lasting memories. Here are the specs of 2015 Indian Roadmaster. Thank you for watching.